So we want to look at page
Page 424.
functions, right? 425 to 424. So what was a function again? Holy cow, we can't forgot all of it.
What page is it?
What is a function again? Okay, and the x can never be the same. Is that correct?
So you use
So it's a
vertical line
special
type.
relation, right?
Yes.
They were ordered pairs, okay? And so where did this section or chapter start then? Remember, the first thing we talked about was how to graph by making points, right? So again, to graph, we had options. One was to make a table. Two, what was the second way, do you remember? The intercepts method,
The vertical.
right? What was the intercepts method?
Y equals.
Zero.
Oh no.
and-
What?
yeah.
Yeah, the zeros, right? And then what was our third way?
Slope it.
Slope intercept, and that's where we kind of concentrated on because that's probably the one you're going to use the most. What's slope intercept again?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. Some of us are still having problems with getting it into that point. So, do you want to see one if you have to do a table? So, on page 425, let's do number 19. Y equals 3x plus 2. So this is one that you don't really need to have it in y equals mx plus b or solve it for one of the variables or anything. But this is one that I'm going to make up a variable, right? So I make up my table. Again, I'm going to always do a vertical table because then it's going to look like ordered pairs once I find them. So again, I'm going to make up, in this case, which one's probably easier to make up? The x's, right? I'm going to make up the x's, put them in there, and then I'm going to find my y's. And so again, how many do I need? Three, at least three, right? And again, I'm going to do these three numbers, but you can do whatever numbers you want. I'm always going to do 0 though because it's easy, right? And then what does it mean? I'm going to take each one of those and stick them into my equation. So y equals, what does 3x really mean? 3 times, or we get -6, right? So plus 2. So then we simplify -6 plus 2, and what do we get for y? -4. So again, remember, when I put this back into my table, that is an ordered pair. All right? So why do we like 0? When I put 0 into the equation, it cancels out. So what do I get?
2.
Just 2. And then if I need to show my work, show the work. What's 3 times 2? 6 plus 2 gets me 8. And then I have my 3 points. I take my 3 points. When I make my, somebody in here, your numbering's confusing me. Meaning, you put like -1 right here, but it's just somewhere. And then when you count, you don't really, sometimes you count this one and sometimes you don't. I can't remember, it's one of you two back there. It's either Tyler or Caleb. So make sure, when you start putting your numbers on your graph, the first line is number 1. And you got to count that as number 1. Okay? So, my top point over there, how do I graph it? Nope.
So it's a side 2.
Remember, big thing, right? When I have an ordered pair, my x always tells me to go left and right, and my y tells me to go up and down. That's the difference between using an ordered pair and using a slope, right? A slope, I'm always going to do the top number first, and that's my y telling me up and down. But now we're talking about ordered pairs. So where do I go?
So 2.
Left 2 and
Down.
down, right? Both negative. Next one. Just up 2, basically, right? Last one. Right 2, up 8. Look at why we put the numbers on there. It's nice and easy, right? Then, get a ruler and draw a straight line. Connect the dots. Is that a line? No, I need what?
Arrow.
Why?
Because
So-
Shows that it goes on into infinity. Okay? Questions with the table? Okay with that?
Yeah.
Intercepts method, do we need to do one of those kind? I'm gonna put 0 in for each variable and then solve for the other one. Why is this a special method? Because this is the only time I get a graph when? Only 2 points. So do you need to do one of those?
Yeah.
Yes? Alright. So, let's go down to 30. 30 says 3x plus y equals what?
6.
Thank you. Okay, so again, I'm going to make my 2 points. I'm going to put 0 in for x to find my y. Again, I have to write it as a point. Okay, so 0 in for x, that cancels out. What's my y? That's why it's nice and easy, right? I put 0 in for y now.
2.
So I get 3x is equal to 6, and I solve and I get x equals 2, like you said. So again, this is why this method is okay sometimes, because it's nice and short. So top point right here, 0, 6, where do I go? Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Second point, right 2. And we put our dots down. Then, this is one that we don't really need the slope at all, right? This is the one time we're going to connect only 2 dots, but we still got to have our arrows. Okay? Our graphs in there. Okay, so if you're going to do the first one with the table and then the second one with the intercepts, right? All right. So then the last kind revolves around our, what we did a lot of, right? Slope intercept. So, anybody want to see more of those kind? We can do more of those if you want. Okay? So, turn the page. So, before we get into the slope intercept form, we need to talk about slope. So, the first thing we talk about is how to find slope from 2 points. So one, if I have a graph, I can plot my points and then I can count. Or there's a formula, right? M equals what? The difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. What do we have to make sure of? The subscripts. Where are the subscripts? The subscripts are subs, so it's down. Remember, 1, 2. If I do it 1, 2, I got to do it 1, 2. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a subscript. Right? So this is wrong. Get that little guy down there. Okay? So again, this is from my 2 points. Alright, so if we get any 2 points, we say, let's do 35. So my 2 points are -1, 5 and -1, 9. All right? So again, which 2 coordinates are my y's? 5 and 9. Now again, it doesn't matter which order I do them. So if you want to look, or just do it the first number minus the second number, if you want to try to get the top to be positive, that's all up to you guys. I think some of us just say, hey, what the heck? Let's just go in order. 5 minus 9. If I do 5 minus 9, well, both of these are the same, so I'm going to do -1 minus -1. Right? On the top, what's 5 minus 9? -4. Somebody say 3 over there?
Someone said 2.
Maddie, are you okay today?
No.
You said about 3 things that's not. What happens when I have 2 negatives back to back? Big plus sign, right? -1 plus 1. 0. What's my slope?
No solution.
No solution. So, don't say anything out loud. Everybody think. What kind of line what I have here. What is that? Up. What's up mean?
Vertical.
He's right.
Yeah.
Vertical lines always have a slope of no solution.
And then horizontal.
Horizontal always has a slope of
Zero.
0. Right? Horizontal lines go across, so they have 0. Vertical lines have up and down, so it's no solution. We need to do more like this kind. Another one of those kind. So we get, let's find one that gets us an answer. 7, 3, and -1, -4, I think it was. -1, -4. Alright? So what are my y's again?
3 and -4.
So 3 minus -4 over, because Grace said 3 first, we have to use 7, and 7 minus -1. Again, back-to-back negatives means
Positive.
a giant plus sign. So on the top, 3 plus 4, 7 plus 1. And again, our slope should usually be a fraction. And that's okay. Okay? Any questions there?
So when you're graphing that, you go up 7 over.
I'm going to go up 7 and to the right 8. Exactly right. Okay? Any other questions with that? Any more of those kind? All right, next section then would be about our slope-intercept form. So what's my slope-intercept form again? We've already written it once, so let's just go back over here. What does, remember our goal here, and this is where some of you are still struggling, getting this y all by itself. Once you get the equation, your graphs are okay, but it's solving for that y. So our first goal is to always have y all by itself and positive. Okay, so what's my m again? My m is my slope, right? Remember, when I do the slope, it should always be a fraction, and it should always be the rise over the run. So my fraction is the top number, which is my y's, tells me to go up or down, over the x's, which tell me to go right and left. And again, that's where the confusion sometimes comes between, because it kind of switches from our order pairs. But the top number, depending on if it's positive or negative. One negative makes the whole thing negative, but you either put the negative on the top or the bottom. What's my B?
Y-intercept.
My y-intercept. What's important about my y-intercept?
First point.
This is my very first point. And I always have to go where? I have to go up or down. This is where I was totally shocked with some of you. Our y-intercept just ended up being out in the middle of nowhere. It always has to be on that yellow line in our case, or there, but the line or the axis that goes up and down. Okay? So, first thing I want you to do is look at, everybody got their book open to page 427? Okay? 39, 40, and 41 are all solved. 42 you would have to solve first, but that's still kind of an easy one. So I want you to go to turn to page 429. And I want you to look at number 14. Okay? I want everybody to try to turn that into y equals mx plus b. So find a piece of scratch paper, do it on that quiz that you just got back. I don't care where you do it. So our equation is 2x plus 4y. And it's equal to 12. So we want to write it in y equals mx plus b. Then I want you to tell me what the slope is, and I want you to tell me what the y-intercept is. And then if you have graph paper, or use that quiz that you just got back, and try to graph it also. You're going to do a lot of this one. back.
Do you graph it?
Yes, if you have graph paper, yes. Use that slope, or use that. Otherwise, just think about your graph.
I mean,
So you need to write it in y equals mx plus b, think about what the slope is, think about what the y-intercept is, and then think about or actually graph it. Everybody good? So again, if I'm going to solve this, remember, anytime that I hear the word solve, whatever I want to solve for, I'm going to cover that up. So I'm solving for y, so how do I get rid of positive 2x? I'm going to subtract it, right? If I subtract 2x on one side, I'm going to subtract 2x on the other side. My 2x's have the exact same term, but they're different signs, so what happens to them? They cancel out. So I'm left with 4y equals, now here, can I take a person and add it to a cow?
No.
No. Realistically, I can write it however I want, but I'm going to write it with the x part first, so I stay in this form, right? mx plus b. Now, how do I get y all by itself? How many times? 3 times, right? What do we mean by 3 times? Once to every part of the problem. Now my 4's cancel each other out. I'm left with y. It's all by itself and positive. That's a good thing. What happens here? Now I'm just going to reduce, right? So instead of actually doing the division, I'm going to just reduce 2 into 4. And I keep my negative. And I'm going to put the negative either on the top or the bottom. I don't care where it goes in that one. And then over here we get what? Plus 3. Right? So what was my, or what is my slope? Negative 1/2. Don't use the x. And what is my y-intercept? 3. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Anybody have problems with that part? Then we want to come over here and graph it. So where are we going to go? We're going to always start with our y-intercept. So where do we go? Up 3. From there, from that point, we go where? Down 1 to the right 2. So, what happens if somebody said, well, I wanted to write it as 1 over negative 2? Not a big deal, right? If I do this slope right here, and I started at this, then I would go where?
Up 1 to the left.
Up 1 and to the left 2. But notice, either way that I did it, look, when I put my ruler down, my points line up. All right? And again, not complete unless I have arrows. Okay? Questions with this one? We need to do another one of those guys. Well, we can do another one with those guys by doing our graphing inequalities. So let's go to page 428. Let's do number 53. And number 53, is it solved for? Is it in the equation that we want?
Yes.
Yeah, right? So, where are we going, or how are we going to graph it?
Down 1.
Down 1, then what?
Up 3. Up 3 to the right one.
Leave the white one.
It was who?
Me?
Up
You guys are
leave
struggling.
the white one.
Okay, here we go. Now we're into inequalities, so now we got to think about what?
The dotted.
We got to think about what kind of line we're going to draw, right? So, if it's less than or greater than, we're going to use what? A dashed line, if it has an equal sign, then we use a regular line, right? So in this case, we're gonna what? Have a solid line. So again, this case right here, we are going to connect our dots. We are still going to put our arrows down, but because it's an inequality, what else do I have to do?
Draw a line.
I got a shade, right? I got a shade. So again, my equation for this was what? Y what? -1. Okay? So, what point do I want to pick? 0, 0. Is that okay in this one? It's right here. The only time I can't pick that is when?
If it's on the line.
When it's on the line. Okay, so I'm going to put 0 here. It's less than or equal. When I put 0 here, what happens? Cancels out. So, the next thing I have to do is ask myself, is 0 less than -1? No. So this is false. So don't say it out loud. Let everybody have a chance. So here's my 0, 0, and it was false. So do I shade up to the left or down to the right?
Is it the blue line?
It's the blue line.
It's down.
Down to the what? Down to the right. So we're going to shade it this way. Everybody agree? Okay. Questions with that one?
If it was like the purple line, which one would it be if it was false, or which one would it be if it was?
If I pick 0, 0, and I'm going to pick false, or it's false when I put it in there, then I'm going to go up here. If it's true, I'm going to go down here. Okay. Go back to the systems of equations, section 8-9. So, what are the ways that we can solve in a system of equations? Graphing or substitution. What are the ways of me answering the question?
You solve for x with substitution.
No. What are the 3 ways that I can get an answer? What? A point, right? So I can have one solution, which is a point, like Carson said. Remember, my point has to be an x and a y. You got to write it as that. Some of you, in these problems, when you did the substitution ones, the variable's already given to you. That's part of the answer. You got to write it as that. What else could I have?
Parallel line.
Infinite solutions. What's my symbol for infinite?
Sideways V.
Okay, or
No
no solution. What's my symbol?
circle with the line.
My circle with the slash. How do I get no solution in graphs?
It's
They're parallel, okay? What do I, infinite number of solutions?
have the same special.
It's the exact same line, right? Okay? So, let's look at one of these. Let's look at, I want to do number 50, because some of us with the substitution are struggling still. So, y equals x plus 6 and y equals -1. I want to show you that you can do this either way. So if I'm going to do substitution with this, look, they already give me an answer. So I know at the beginning, even before I do anything, that has to be a part of my answer right there. Has to be. Right? Now I'm going to put this -1. I'm going to substitute this -1 in for that y. So if I put -1 into that y, I get -1 equals x plus 6. How do I solve for x? I'm going to subtract 6. If I subtract 6 on one side, I got to do it on the other side. My 6's cancel out. X is equal to? Where does this go? In my point. That's the part that a lot of you forgot. Or a couple of you. More in the other class, actually. But I'm going to prove you that you can do this either way. How would I graph this? Nope. How would I graph this right here? Sorry. Go back to the original equation. How do I graph this equation right here? Go up 6, and then what's my slope? So up 6, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and I get my line. How do I graph this line right here? Go down one, and what kind of line do I make? Which way is horizontal? So here's my horizontal line. Here's my line that I made over here. Ladies and gentlemen, when you do this by graphing, your lines need to cross. So if they don't cross, you have to extend them. So what's my answer? My answer is that point right there. Was that this point right here?
Yes, exactly that.
See? So you can use either method every single time, and you're going to get the same answer. All right? So a couple of you need to look at that quiz a little bit closer. If you need help, come in and get help. Test is tomorrow. Study. If you need help, come in Jay's and we'll work on some stuff.